Hello! Yeah, it's been a long time. As we quickly fast approach Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade, because I don't know, which will feature a bonus episode focusing on Yuffie, we're gonna talk about Zack Fair and whatnot. So, yeah. Zack Fair, the guy who died in the original timeline and is now alive in the remake timeline in ways that make no sense, or there's a third timeline and it's going to create a crisis event because everything goes back to DC when I think of multiverse time traveling and whatnot. So, yeah, Zack Fair is that character from Crisis Core. He's a character from Final Fantasy VII, and who, if I when I was doing my study about him because I was going back into Final Fantasy topics and like looking him up again and looking out the whole thing, he did not exist in the original scenario of Final Fantasy VII, but was created only when the scenario writer, I can't pronounce his name, decided to add some mystery to the plot, most notably in relation to Cloud Strife's background. So, yeah, the original writer of the game of the original Final Fantasy said that he had always planned for Cloud Strife's memories of his life to be proven false as the game went on, but he had not decided how to implement this until he hit on the character of Zack. Also using Zack to link Cloud and Aerith, as Aerith has seen something of Zack in Cloud. Zack was the first person Aerith loved, thus creating an emotional connection between herself and Cloud because he reminds her of him. And that was the original timeline. Zack in Crisis Core, Final Fantasy VII, which was on the PSP, and then I learned from Jeremy Johns that apparently that is no longer around and whatnot because, yeah, they hate you, I would think. But apparently they're going to bring it back with, if I'm correct, I'm trying to see where I can find this. Like, Crisis Core is set to go ahead and be brought to iOS or something like that, remastered and whatnot, though it probably will fit the remake stuff. Wouldn't be surprised. Crisis Core gave him greatly expanded his backstory, which was a prequel to the original game, and his relationship with Aerith, and how he tragically dies fighting as many as he can against the wrath of Shinra, and one of the people involved in this was the game was directed by two people with Tetsuya Nomaru. I'm pretty sure I butchered that. Serving as character designer, so he had involvement with Zack. He did write that. He did have some involvement with Zack's character, and he was voiced in the English version by Rick Gomez. And then he's voiced differently in Final Fantasy VII Remake. I don't know why they changed his voice in the remake, because I kept hearing rumors, I believe someone in the comments on YouTube in a video mentioned how Sony took over the marketing and they said we gotta change his voice. And so you could probably thank Sony for that. So, yeah, when I hear the voice of Zack in Final Fantasy Crisis Core, or which I never played, I looked up videos about it, and his voice is like very accepting, like, okay, I'm probably gonna die, but if I'm dying, I'm taking as many as with me, and he does, and by the time he gets gunned down, he has 3 people left trying to take him down, so yeah, he was close. And but in the remake, after you fight this gigantic Arbiter of Faith, he survives. And I'm like, oh, oh. So, yeah, that changed time. Like, we get an exact shot for shot of Crisis Core's encounter, just updated with modern graphics and some character design models from Nomura. And yeah, they indicate that it probably takes place in another timeline, but they don't really know how to explain it. But yeah, this clearly changes fate, and now it's like, so how does, and people were saying, like, how does Cloud have the Buster Sword if Zack's alive? Because Zack has to die for Cloud to have all this stuff about him. So if I had to best analyze this, um, here's the thing. I was thinking that, how do I say this delicately? So I was thinking this Cloud is probably the Cloud that we're seeing in Final Fantasy VII is not the Cloud that we see that Zack saves, protects, that hides him in the rocks, and he fights all the Shinra forces. And the Sephiroth was trying to change history because this Sephiroth operates very differently than the Sephiroth we know. Like, he knows, oh, my plan doesn't work, so I gotta go back in time and fix this. And then Aerith tries to stop it and tries to do her own agenda because Aerith in this game seems radically odd than in the original. Like, you clearly can tell this Aerith knows more than she's letting on, and the flashbacks give more indicate, and the flash forwards instead of flashbacks give indication that is indeed the case. And how she seems to know things before anyone else knows. And there is something I was thinking when I saw this. It was like, is Zack Fair the explanation? If he's alive in the new timeline, in this alternate timeline, is he the reason the three survived? Is he the reason why Jesse and that other guy I forgot about, like their characters? Like, I love that how they expanded their characters, those three from Avalanche. But is he the reason those other Jesse and, yeah, I'm trying to remember his name. I haven't played the game in a while, but I still remember some things. Uh, oh man, I'm so bad at this. But Jesse and that other guy are apparently alive. Is that how they're surviving? Because Zack Fair is alive? Like, because the plate dropped and no doubt had to crush them because there's no way you could save them, or how they could survive being smashed or whatnot, and they're just okay. They just have a few bandage wounds. And like, we see the whispers, those things that are basically the idea that, oh, it's a remake, therefore you have to just tell the same story just with HD graphics. Except that's that. Except here's the thing: when I look at remakes, it's like basically retelling the same tale but with variations and differences. And this is like the extreme. Like, I'm pretty sure, I keep saying this, like, I keep thinking this is actually a remakequel, a sequel remake, where it's the same story but clearly sequel elements are in it because Arab's off and different, Sephiroth is different, his agenda seems different. and and you know, like, there has to be something that's changed the timeline and all that, and I'm curious as to know what happened. But yeah, Zack Fair living is the interesting angle they're going with, like, because he has to die for Cloud to be Cloud, it for the most part. And they seem to think that Cloud doesn't know that Zack's alive now in this new timeline. Arab doesn't seem to know. So I gained the strange feeling that the route they're going for is that they're probably gonna save Aerith from, like, Zack's gonna show up when Sephiroth is about to kill Aerith, and in the shocking moment, but Zack Fair stops the moment from happening, and thus timeline is completely altered, completely more so than ever. Because if I recall correctly, I believe they mentioned how humanity is extinct 500 years from now after the events of Final Fantasy VII, and they seem to imply another tragedy happened, but this time Cloud and the others couldn't stop it. So they were like, well, we gotta go back because Red 13 is the only one that probably knows. So unless Aerith gives him the memories because she's in the live stream. And yeah, when you think about this, like, the constant theme in Final Fantasy VII, I heard from analysts and whatnot in the game, were basically was basically that the tale is that it's about death and life and prevent and like holding death off for now, but it's inevitable. How you could prevent it from happening, and it's always going to happen. It's inevitable. Sort of like how Anakin never could accept his mother dying and Padme dying, but he doesn't come to accept that he can only hold off death, but he can't really stop it. So if he had that acceptance, I'm pretty sure he would have done something different. But yeah. Whereas now it's about faith and timelines and crisis level insanity. And now you're just wondering where this is all going. Because Tetsuya Nomura has a very Kingdom Hearts like esque attitude with Final Fantasy VII. Like, I know he's had a lot of involvement, but the director of the original game was the lead producer in this, so he could have signed off on it. So yeah, this and like they're probably gonna have the same. They're probably gonna have the same amount of complications and long development time for Final Fantasy VII Remake series like they did with Final Fantasy 13, but hopefully better because all the characters are awesome, but like now it's like the story was awesome. I enjoyed Final Fantasy VII as I explained on my Neo Reality Entertainment channel. I am hoping we get more answers of what the hell's going on now. But I did love this game, and I am more curious than ever about Zack Fair. Like, I still think this is more of a remake-quel than it is actually a full-on remake, because they have seemed to suggest there's more stuff to it, like Aerith opening her eyes and being scared at the beginning, whereas in the original, she's more normal, acting more normal. Like, okay, she's looking at a pipe that has Mako energy coming out, but like, she's a Cetra, so she's obviously doing something. But now it's like, wait, did she see the future now in this? Because they just seem to indicate all this. And Tetsuya Nomura worked on both Kingdom Hearts 3 and Final Fantasy Remake concurrently. And oh man, that's gotta be insane. Oh man. That's gotta be insane that they went ahead and hadn't worked both games, the big games that people wanted. So I did love how they expanded this, but Zack Fair is the character that everyone wants to know. Like, does he show up in Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2? Will he ultimately contribute in a way that prevents Aerith's death? Will he be playable? Will we see the alternate timeline where he lives? Or is he in the main timeline now? That's now the new timeline, and timelines and timelines and timelines and science mumbo jumbo, and you're left confused wondering what the hell is going on. I don't know, but I enjoy this game. I'm interested in this new mystery we're getting. It just has to, and like, we still have the original. Like, I know people wanted an HD full-fledged remaster, not a not a sequel remake, so to speak. I wouldn't be surprised if they called this remake. Like, if remake was actually called that for like a double meaning, like, oh, it's this game, but it's a sequel. We're calling it remake, resurrection, and rebirth. Let's be real, they'll probably do that. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting where they take this. So Integrate comes out in what, June again? Let me just double check on that because I just need to be certain. Yeah, it's coming out June 10th. I don't have a PlayStation 5. I'm hoping to get one this year, but due to the shortages and issues, yeah. And I can't get the free upgrade because, well, the expansion, I have the game still, so I get the free upgrade. So we'll have to see how that goes. Okay, this was Pop Culture Omniversa, Neo Reality Entertainment. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, check out my other content in the description below. Stay tuned for more. I'll see y'all next time. Peace and take care. And oh man, this is so insane.